In this short video, I just want to talk a little bit about solving geometry problems. So in order to get your HSE, you're going to have to solve a lot of different kinds of geometry problems. They'll be dealing with area and perimeter and circumference and volume and all kinds of things. And there'll be all kinds of different shapes, rectangles, circles, triangles, etc. So it looks like it's kind of a daunting task to be able to do all of these problems. But the good news is all of these problems can be solved using the same 5-step process. So I just want to go through that briefly here and give you a sense of what that's all about. So to do that, we'll do let's do a sample problem here. So find the area of a rectangle that's 8 meters long and 3 meters wide. All right, pretty straightforward example. All right. So the first step, we identify the shape that we're working with and we try to draw a picture. Well, it's pretty obvious that, and it tells you in the problem that it's a rectangle that's 8 by 3. So I'll just try to identify the shape and try to draw something that looks close to the problem. So here's a rectangle that's 8 by 3. It's not necessarily to scale, but in geometry, pictures are your friends. So anytime you can draw a picture, that's the good thing. All right, step 2. You identify the quantity we're working with. Are we talking about area, perimeter, volume, surface area, what? And again, this is stated explicitly in the problem, so we know we're working with area. All right, check. Step 3, write the appropriate formula. Now, you'll be given a sheet of paper that has all the formulas that you're going to need to use in the HSE test. And I'll give you one in class for us to practice on. But you don't have to memorize from formulas, you just have to find the right one. So you're going to look through that list of formulas and find the one that is appropriate to this problem, which deals with the area of a rectangle. And if you look through that, you'll see something looks something like this. The area of a rectangle. It won't have a picture of a rectangle, but I just do that because I want to. And the area is length times width, L times W. All right, fourth step. I replace the variables, the letters, in the formula with numbers from the problem. Well, looking at the problem, I can see this rectangle is 8 meters long, and remember the L stands for length. So I'm going to replace this L in the formula with the number 8. It's 3 meters wide, and in the formula W represents the width, so I'm going to replace that with the 3. And it's going to look like this. So now the formula is area is 8 times 3, right? Length times width. Last step is now you just use algebra to solve for the unknown value. In this case, we're trying to figure out what A is, what the area is. This is a pretty straightforward problem, so the algebra is not very difficult. You just multiply the 8 times 3 and you end up with 24 square meters. The important thing here is just that you understand the 5 steps. Yeah. Not so much whether the problem's simple or not. All right, let's do one more example. It'll be a little bit of a wrinkle in it, a little bit different, but it's going to be the same steps. So this time the problem is find the volume of a cylinder, the volume of a cylinder is 28 cubic inches, the radius is 8. What's the height? All right, so again, here we go down the 5-step path. Identify the shape and draw a picture. Well, they tell you, it's a cylinder, all right? So that's it. Here's our picture of our cylinder. The volume is 28 cubic inches. The radius of it is 8 inches. All right. Second step was identify the quantity. What are we working with? Area, perimeter, whatever. And again, that tells you we're working with volume here. So I'm going to find the appropriate formula for volume. That'll be step 3. And it turns out that it looks like this. The volume of a cylinder is pi times the radius squared times the height. All right, good so far. All right, now the fourth step, same one. We're going to replace the variables, the letters in the formula with numbers from the problem. So I'm going to look and I'm going to see, well, this time it tells me the volume, right, is 28. So I'm going to take that 28, and this time I'm going to replace this guy with the 28. Pi is pi, it's the 3.14. That's a constant. Don't worry about that right now. But it tells me the radius of the cylinder is 8 inches. And in the formula, that R stands for the radius. So that's this guy. So I'm going to replace that r with the number 8. Now what's the height? That's the h in the formula. So that's what we're trying to figure out. So if I do this, the formula is going to look like 28 equals pi, which is 3.14 always. It's always the same. And then the radius squared. So remember the radius was 8. Right? And now I just need to figure out what the height is. Yeah. Last step, now we're just going to use algebra to solve for h. Now this is, granted, this is a little more involved algebra problem, so I won't, in this little video, I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but you would start down this path, right? You would multiply the 8 squared, you would calculate the 8 squared and multiply by 3.14, and you get this, and then dot, dot, dot. You would get through the rest of it to find out what the height is. Again, I'm not interested in the calculations at this point. I'm just interested in showing you that you can go through these 5 steps, and if you remember the previous problem, it was area of a rectangle was length times width, right? And they gave us these two. This time, this volume is pi r squared times the height. This time they gave us this, and we had to find the height. We didn't know what that was. These are not two different kinds of problems, right? We solved them the same way. The only thing that was really different was, which variables we replaced with numbers from the problem. So I'm hopeful this gives you sort of a sense of how the 5 steps can get you to the end of these things. We'll do a lot of these in class, but I just wanted to sort of give you a heads up about how to do all these different kinds of, seemingly different kinds of geometry problems using the same 5 steps. Done.